Start?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go.
So hello everyone, and thank you for being here today with us. Yeah, can you please mute your microphone if you can? Yeah, thank you. So I can see some familiar names, so thank you for coming back. So we try to do a webinar every 2 weeks, and each time we try to present different topic to try to share as much information and knowledge as possible to everyone. So before we start, so here is a small disclaimer. So social CRM can be very complex, and today we will focus only on the lead generation aspect. So we will not address the loyalty or the repeat purchasing aspect. So here is today's agenda. So we will do a short introduction about what is a social CRM. Then we will talk about Drip, who is our CRM partner. We were supposed to have them as a speaker today, but the person is sick. So yeah, I will talk on their behalf today. Then we will explain how to bring growth by using social CRM. And then we'll explain what is the tagging, how to use it, and then we will present a few case studies, and we will conclude with a Q&A. Okay, so in China, as you must know, and for those who don't, in China we communicate mainly by WeChat, whereas in the rest of the world we still communicate a lot by emails. And so why are we introducing WeChat today? It is because WeChat in China is seen as a super app. So in the West, if you want to order food, book an appointment, or sending message, maybe you need several apps to do it. But in China, you just need one app, and it is WeChat. So WeChat can do anything you need in China. So this is the tool we use with most of our customers, and it is a combination of marketing toolkits and SCRM. So on the left side, you have all the functionalities that can help you to grow your followers base. And today we will focus only on the form and QR code aspect. And then on the right side, you have the SCRM with all the functionalities that can help you to do what we call precision marketing. And this can be used to have a better picture of who your followers are. And this can be also helpful to engage better with your customers and to create personalized customer experience with them. And on this aspect today, we will focus on the customer segmentation, the tagging, and the group send message. So if you are interested in any of the other functionality, you can send us an email that we'll share later with you. And yeah, we can discuss about that later during another time. And now let's dive into the core of this webinar. So how to bring growth by using WeChat SCRM. And I will let Benoit to continue on this aspect.
Thank you, Ting. Good evening, everyone. Good day for some of you that are connecting from Europe. So the topic today is how to bring growth thanks to the WeChat CRM. There are a couple of steps that needs to be taken ahead before just using the tool. The CRM is just a tool, and like every tool, a good camera will not necessarily make you a good photographer. A good CRM will not necessarily make you a good marketer. So there are a couple of steps that we also need to be considering so that we can do good job as marketing people afterward. So what we do at Duno normally before starting CRM work, the first steps is we define the persona. We work extensively at understanding who is the target audience that we are willing to reach. This allows us later, you will see, to be able to use the social CRM to, for example, tag those personas. So we will talk about it later, because each persona might have different goals, different interaction with your brands. So you need to identify them. That will allow you to be more precise in your marketing functions. When you have this initial persona drafted, and you might have multiple, I would say 2 to 3, up to 5 is still acceptable and manageable for some of the brands. Some of the huge brands has more than that, but let's stay focused for tonight. Then when you have them, you can focus on their customer journey. So it's actually at every steps of the sales funnel, what do you expect them to achieve in terms of interactions with the brand? So here you can see we have awareness, consideration, and decisions. We have a simplified funnel here. And there are a couple of activities so that people are doing activities, motivation, emotion, and barriers that people will have on their customer journey. And we try to identify them so they will also help us to understand what content to create in order to be able to collect information in the CRM or use the CRM to push the right messages or contents toward those people. So really important aspect that needs to be considered before engaging into growth marketing. And the last one tends to be forgotten sometimes, but we believe it's also really important. It's related to the branding aspect. It's really about the tone of voice that you intend to use with your user in China. Sometimes some brands from, let's say, from Europe or US have a certain tone of voice over there, but sometimes it needs to be localized for the Chinese audience. And sometimes for different persona, you might also have different kind of tone of voice. So here we have symbolized the tone of voice by typically on the top, we have like a matter of fact and an enthusiastic on the other side. And then we can play with the different cursors. So for example, matter of fact is like yes. If we are in the middle between the two of them, it like sounds good. And you're really enthusiastic is like, yeah, yes, let's go. So we have that on the right side. So those are tones that are pretty important to understand. And I have seen earlier that we have people from the higher education industry, for example. You might not have the same tone of voice for the parents and for the students themselves. So into your persona, you might also work at having slightly different tones. Okay. So when we have those three aspects, I would say well defined, then we can enter into what we believe is really important and why we put social CRM in place in the WeChat ecosystem is to tag some of the segments. The tagging is coming from the functions of WeChat. WeChat by nature, just the WeChat alone, the backend, allows to do tagging at the end. So the social CRMs that plugs on WeChat will facilitate tagging in a dynamic way. So here we tend to map among the followers to try to find what can people tag for the followers. So when we talk about just the persona aspect, what is important to consider when you create a tagging strategy? And I want to emphasize on the fact that the tagging is here to support a business strategy. If you create extensive amount of tags, but you don't know them or you don't remember them in the future, it's useless. So it's pretty important to be able to have your tagging strategy written and listed, and you understand from a business goal why you are tagging the people on certain aspects. So here we have categorized three types, the main three types that every CRM is doing. So the demographic aspect, the psychographic aspect, and the behavioral aspects. Those are the three main categories that needs to be considered and are usually embedded in every single marketing CRM out there. The demographics are really about who are the people we are talking to. So age, gender, occupation, location, education level, marital status, do they have kids or not kids? All of these kind of things can be important for your brands, and you need to identify the different tags that will be helpful for you to take business decision or to be able to tag them as one of your persona. Okay, so female, male, maybe it's not important for your business. You don't mind this. What you need to know is more their gender or no, sorry, their age or their occupation, for example. But the gender is not really something that you mind. On the psychographic aspect, so personality traits, lifestyle, attitudes, the values, the belief, all of these kind of things can be also really important. I used to follow a podcast many years ago, and they were positioning themselves for a certain religion. Like they were a marketing podcast, but they say they were mainly talking to Catholic people because the value, the beliefs that were behind what they were pushing as marketing ideas were mainly focusing in terms of values toward those people. So that's also a way you can segment your population. And then the behavioral aspect. So basically the purchasing behavior, the timing, at what moment they are coming, how often they use your product, or this kind of aspects can also be important to understand at which level of the funnel, for example, they are, or are they people that are repurchasing quite often your product, or are they first timers? This kind of aspects is also pretty important to gather as an information. So this is all the tagging aspect that you can do in order to make a decision and recognize your persona. There are other types of tags that you can do in a strategy, and that are usually also pretty important. You can actually tag the people based on the product and services that you are doing. So you can have different level of product and services, and the interest of the people might be towards certain product and services. And we will talk about it later. For example, you're on a trade show. Some people are asking for the data sheet of a certain product or of a certain service. Then you can tag the people with an interest on this product or this service. This might help your sales team later down the road to know, oh, this guy is actually a right persona and he's interested by that product. So that's important to you. Or you might understand also that this people is actually a client and using this kind of product or services. So you can also direct content to that person specifically. Then you can also tag your content. Some of the social CRMs allow you to do this. This allows you to have statistics about the content that you're pushing to your audience and what people will actually like or not like, for example. We know for some of the brands, for example, we did some tests at having the first post in WeChat having a certain color background being more efficient for certain brands. So, for example, we tend to tag the main picture color, dominant colors inside the tag, so we know which one are working better than others. Or it can be pictures with actual people on it, or it can be illustration instead of picture, and then you can see which one is working better. Or you can say, oh, it's content, it's global branding content. That's one type of information. And then it's local marketing function for China, for example. And then you can see what people engage more into by having those content tag on the type of content they have inside. And then the last one we have listed here is for campaigns or sales tags in general. If you're doing a certain campaigns and you would like to remember that people came into the system for that campaign, for example, or people that engage in a certain campaign, for example, this is also pretty important. So I would say a classic example that we can have from this is you ran a WeChat marketing campaign related to a particular event in China. Let's say for Chinese New Year, you have a special offer. It's pretty interesting to understand who are the people that arrive thanks to this specific campaign and be able eventually to retarget this specific audience that arrive at a specific moment into your system. So, you know, maybe they are sensitive to promotion only. And you might be willing to understand that from this particular audience. Now that we have understood a little bit the tagging, and we try to give you, I would say, an extensive understanding about the different level of tags that you can perform, And once again, I want to insist on the fact that tags are here to support a business strategy. You don't necessarily need that many tags. Sometimes people, we have seen that when we arrive on some of the accounts, have created extensive tagging systems, super complex, I would say, hierarchy of tags, but then it's not used because either it's too complex or people have forgotten how it was created and why it was created. So documenting that tagging strategy is important. If you do, for example, campaign tagging, try also to have a naming strategy so that people can remember what it means. So I don't know, campaign, WeChat, lead generation, and then you know, okay, this one is a certain type of campaign that we do, and you can even have the date or a specific aspect to remember about it. Those tags are visible only by the marketing people, so feel free to add some aspects that are interesting to you in there. Okay. Now that we have this, let's see a little bit more about the applications. How do we actually use that social CRM and to achieve what kind of things overall? So the first things that is important is to populate data inside your social CRM. It's good, you have followers, they are automatically linked to your social CRM backend, but then you need information about them. And you know, with the PIPL law, so like kind of GDPR, but for China, the platforms by themselves are giving less and less information directly, automatically. So it's important that we actually, as marketers, collect information. So we need to engage with the population in WeChat in order to retrieve some information. If some of you are familiar with Facebook or Instagram, you tend to have quite a lot of information from the platforms before. It tends to change as well. You have less and less coming, and with the cookie-less environment that is designed in the West, we will be more and more going into the way people have been doing marketing in China. So meaning collecting information from the people using small campaigns. So here we give a small example, for example, of a H5 mini game. But in order to engage in that mini game and eventually win something or get a reward or get a coupons or in exchange of something, people will fill up some information. This exchange of something is pretty important. We have understood that the perceived value from the people should be around 100 to 150 RMB. So basically, I would say 10 to 17 euro in order to decide to fill up a form. Okay, and that form needs to be as simple as possible for them to actually fill it. So the value of having a social CRM is that if some of the people are already registered, only the questions where they don't know the answer will be not populated. So there is a pre-population of certain of the fields, which facilitates the collection of additional information from people that we know already. So all of this put in place regularly, step by step, marketers need to do small campaigns that will collect information. And each of those information can help you to tag the people with some certain values. So when you collect certain information about, I don't know, sex, age, location in China, type of engagements that they have, then you can slowly and slowly build up your persona and you can start to know who is who in your database. So we also really insist about that because we know many people, many of our customers, originally they come to us and they say, oh, okay, next month I want to have that many followers. And we say to them, we don't really care about the number of followers. We care about the number of people that are tagged as persona in the backend. We can get many people, many followers, but if they are not the persona, the people you are willing to communicate to, it's useless. Maybe we can attract people, but we don't attract the right people. So is that really important to you to have another 1,000 followers if only 10% of them are real persona? isn't it better to have 100 real persona in the backend? So this is where we also tend to have extensive conversations with our clients to really discuss this kind of purpose. Hope this part is clear. So capturing information is key and it's important. When you have captured some information, something that a social CRM will allow you to do is to segment posts toward your audience. So here we are talking about WeChat content because we are in WeChat Social CRM, and we are talking about service accounts. It's also working for subscription accounts for the people that have the differences, but the service account will have a bit more functions in that aspect. For example, WeChat allows you to send certain type of content toward a tag. So here you have an example with a screenshot of a content with 8 different contents, and we kind of have different scenarios there. So we have a scenario 1 where, for example, the people that have no tag will receive content 1, 2, 3, 4. The people that have the tag 1 will receive the content number 2 as the main content on WeChat, and then the content number 4 as a second article. And the people that have the tag 2 will receive the article number 3 as the main article, and then article number 4, and then article number 1 as secondary articles. In WeChat ecosystem, the first articles tend to be the most read. So that's why sometimes you want to optimize knowing your audience and your persona, trying to send the exact content that is relevant to your people in order to be successful with that content and have a good engagement on that content. Content on WeChat is expensive, so you want actually to have readers toward that content. So this can be a good way to segment. Also, some people might come back to us and say, hey, yeah, but I'm only allowed to send 4 content per month to my database. It's not exactly right. WeChat actually allowed to send 4 content to 1 contact per month. So when you use this tagging system, you can send up to 4 content to 1 tag, but then you can send different content to the other tags. So for example, if you have B2B, like partners, distributors, for example, I've seen that we had people coming from the e-commerce industry, and they might have distributors, and they might have the final customers in their WeChat account, for example. So if you can tag those 2 populations, actually the B2B people don't really need to read the same content as the B2C people. So for the consumer, you might be willing to focus on another type of content. So you might decide to have 2 content at each push, but then you can decide to who you send based on the tags and the persona that you know. So this is a pretty nice feature from social CRMs, and that is coming from the WeChat functionalities in order to optimize the content for the right people. And in an environment overall where we are overwhelmed by WeChat content, we have a lot of content coming to us quite regularly. It's really interesting to know the accounts that are sending content that matters to us. I'm a user, and honestly, there are accounts that I don't read anymore because they don't know who I am, or they have never made the efforts to understand what I like. But there are some other platforms or other WeChat accounts that are amazing in the quality of the content they send to me, and then I spend the time to read it. So it's really interesting when you have done this work, how engaging you can be as an audience when you receive those content. So one way to use those social CRM. Another aspect that we work on with some of our clients is to activate trade shows. So we call that O2O activation, in the sense that on a booth for a trade show, there are a lot of possibilities that comes thanks to the social CRM. So for example, social CRMs like WeChat can generate trackable QR codes. So it means that you can start to tag automatically when people have scanned certain QR codes. So I was mentioning a bit earlier, for example, you have different kind of product or services displayed on your booth, and some people will scan to receive the marketing materials about specific product, for example. Then you can tag them directly, knowing that, oh, okay, this person is interested by this product. And this can be done directly when people scan the QR codes. So this is super powerful functions that comes with the WeChat ecosystem that allows to get some information of the people without even the people entering those information. It's by their behavior you can directly get some information. You can also use functions for business a business card, either scanner or either sharing to the people, and this can also be tracked. So on a booth like this, you can have salespeople going around, and then you can know who added some people in the CRM. So that can be also objective driven, for example, for the sales. Okay, you have 40 people to add in the CRM today. And then they don't have to go and track in the CRM by themselves. They just share a QR code to the people, and then automatically these people will enter. So you know directly that these people have been coming. These kind of aspects allow, for example, if the people had an interaction with the booth, if they register to, for example, a campaign, a lucky draw on your booth at the same time, and if they had an engagement with a salesperson, then maybe that person is an interesting lead as well. Maybe you should contact back that person because it might be a warm, hot lead. So that allows to do, I would say, qualification in a short period of time on a trade show and getting a better return on investments on those trade shows. So this is pretty powerful to be able in, I would say, 2 days, 3 days, be able to qualify some of the leads that came to your booth only thanks to them engaging with some aspects of your booth using some content. But then for you marketing people, you know the behavior that these people are having. And this prevents from, at the end of the trade show, having a box full of business cards that are eventually entered into an Excel sheet that we forget 1 month or 2 months later, and we don't know who are these people anymore. Now they are in the CRM recorded. You know how engaging they have been on that specific booth on that specific day, and then you can see how they are engaging into your content and your operations during the year after that. Even some of your business are more B2B related, and sometimes maturing the customer takes some time, 1, 2, 3, 4 years for some of the industries. So understanding how the people are engaging, how often they are coming to read your content, allows you to understand the level of interest that they might have. Hope all of this was interesting to you. We can now share a little bit maybe of, I would say, case studies, but if some of you are willing to also ask questions or relevant information about the content I just shared, feel free to share in the chat already some of your questions, some of your expectation here. So we are looking at the list of people that have shared with us their industry. So we have people from education sector. We have some people from fashion, F&B, education again, okay, and we have also some people from e-commerce brands, agro product supply, okay. So, okay, interestingly, we have a couple of people from education. It's interesting. Okay, perfect. So let's take some of the example. You have ideas in mind that you think we should go for?
Yeah. What about the school in France? I think.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk about it. Okay, because we have education people. So, for example, we have supported one school in France to generate some contacts at different levels. So first, we have engaged with them through a social CRM. We have done awareness campaign on social media. So basically from KOL, engaging people to generate user-generated content. So they were pushing content, having certain level of tags, engaging with some of the social network of the brand. These people from the engagement that we have were redirected to and kind of encouraged to engage with the WeChat account. So then we knew from which campaign they were coming. That was pretty early stage in the recruitment campaigns that you do in the year. So mainly in this education industry was mainly between, I would say, September to December to have some awareness there for the people. Then from this, we have been able to have two campaigns in parallel. One that was done on Baidu, so the SCM campaign, regular SCM campaign, but on the other end, a social media campaign on WeChat, allowing to have the interactions with the people, and thanks to landing pages. So we have talked about these landing pages a bit earlier in terms of the tools that the social CRM were aligned to build pretty easily. On those landing pages, collecting some information from the people. How we were collecting information from those people in the education sector, it's usually when people are curious about the curriculum of a specific program, then we can easily ask them a couple of information at that moment. What was really powerful with that school is because there were also people touring in China with visiting different universities. At the same time, we also had a digital booth in a sense. So they had kakemonos and stuff that they were using, having those of the QR codes there. And we were able to cross-check the people that were engaging into the campaign and that were actually physically coming on the booth. And that gave us pretty high level quality of leads overall, allowing the recruitment team to have good level of contact to potentially hire some of the people thanks to that campaign. So that can be one example for this specific industry of the higher education.
For the F&B and e-commerce aspect, I think it would be nice to discuss about what we did for the instant coffee.
Yeah, we work on that.
Yeah,
okay. The e-commerce and the F&B aspect. Okay. And F&B depends if they are bars or if they are providing food. So it depends. I mean, if you can give a bit more details, depend how you consider F&B in your definition. If I take this brand of coffee that we worked with, Raf is asking to talk. Maybe you want to interact, Raf?
I think he was the one in the F&B sector.
Okay, so that was okay. Okay, so that was a reaction. Okay, no problem. Wrong button. Okay, no worries, Raf. So basically, in the interactions with this coffee brand, so we support them to same in the sense of having a clear tagging strategy within their social CRM. So the idea was they had different product lines, different type of coffee, and what was important for them to understand in terms of business was the taste of the people. Because based on the taste of the people, then they could target the right marketing to those people. So our work as marketer was to be able to collect the information from those brands in order to understand if those people were attracted by what kind of taste, basically. So we did a small campaigns engaging directly on the packaging of some of the communication that were done on the packaging. There were some QR codes there, and from those QR codes, thanks to a small campaigns mechanism, we have been able to collect some of those information from the user. And what we mainly came out of this information was not that much about the taste of the people at the end, which was the original guess from the brand, but was more about the geographic location of the people in terms of, are they coming from tier 1 city, tier 2 city, tier 3 city, tier 4 cities? We were able, thanks to the data set we collected, to kind of have different level of tastes based on the different level of tier city in China. And that was super valuable to them because then they could target offline campaigns based on this information for the different tier cities. And they started actually to not really target tier 1 and tier 2 cities, but more focus on tier 3 and tier 4 cities, where the taste of their coffee was more accurate for the audience. And thanks to that, they have been able to develop business properly after that. Other examples we can?
We have someone in fashion industry.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit. Yeah, okay, we can talk about one. Okay, we have one client in the fashion business. So what we did for them, same. We have a social CRM at the back. They, at the end of every single WeChat article, we have a small content related to the brand, usually related to the collection of the brand. So it changed 2 times a year. We have ways to download information about their collections. So it's in every single post that we have for them. At the end, kind of the footer of the post, we have this call to action, so an engagement offering the people to engage with this content. The engagement we have there is in order to be able to download this collection information, people have a form, so it's a gated content strategy. And from this form, we also understand where the people are located, what kind of industry they work with. Some of the people are, I would say, more B2B for that brand, in the sense that they like to buy collections from them directly, and they will resell it. And some of the people might be direct consumers. So we wanted to identify that pretty clearly also in the account and tag the people if they were more B2B or B2C. That was pretty important. And thanks to this, we discovered that the Sichuan province was actually had more engagement, knowing that the brand was doing no activities over there in terms of sales or in terms of marketing. We were pretty surprised about that result. And it was coming systematically that we had really good engagement, really good activation from the Sichuan province. And then one of the distributors of that brand decided to engage one small tour into that province to validate if there were business over there to be made. So they were mainly focusing on the coastal area. And from a first trip over there, thanks to the data, we were also able to collect information from the people with the CRM by offline active action. And then we were able to identify that there was actually a certain level of business to be done in this specific province. So that was also pretty interesting for the brand. And then we started to have specific marketing campaign over this specific province in order to cover it better, because we had the right population for the brand, let's say. So that was an interesting point of view as well. So same, it's really how to understand better the audience in the account by collecting some information somehow, and then how to use that to generate more campaign or more leads for the sales team, basically. We start to have questions, so perfect. So that's a perfect timing. So thank you, Raf. So how is collected data shown, presented to the marketing team? So it's usually depending on the different social CRM, but we collect this data. Some of the social CRM and our partner for tonight, DripCRM, has some data representation in there. So in the data representation aspect, we can see different type of information. I would say, basically, we can have information at the tag level. So we can see the volume per tag, for example. So we can easily detect some aspect on this level. But sometimes it's not enough to analyze the data. So in our team, some people will extract the data from the backend sometimes and put them usually in softwares like either Excel or even like Tableau or this kind of data analysis software. in order to represent the data differently. And this is usually how we discover in the data set some other type of information that we were not necessarily selecting. So if I take the examples that I was talking about, for example, so if I take the education example, it has also allowed us to understand that there were some regions in China where that school was able to get better qualified students for them. So it was basically certain partnership with certain university could be done thanks to this, because we had a geographical kind of information. And I mentioned that in many of the aspects, the geographical aspect is usually pretty important in the sense that China is pretty vast with it's like 20 countries of Europe, and there are really cultural differences. So sometimes finding the right audience means also understanding in which geography to target. So we always look at this pretty precisely. For other example, when we look at tagging specific content, so to understand how the content will work, here it's more about the volume of engagement on a specific tag that we will look. So for example, if we tag regularly, I was mentioning earlier, something we do is like the color of the background of the first image. Sometimes we realize that, okay, they have more engagement on a red color, for example. So, okay, red color is more engaging for the people if the background is red. So then marketing team can take this information and say, okay, if we have more red color, then we can definitely attract more people to engage into that content. So that's another way we can represent the information. We have, you can mute yourself eventually. That will be good. I don't know, someone is speaking. I don't know, Raf, if I gave you enough examples there. I'm trying to think about other example I can mention eventually. Yeah, clear. Okay, perfect. Thanks. Any additional questions? We are kind of entering the timing for question and answer now. Thank you, Raf, for having started this already. Any questions, any specific aspect you would like to discuss about your brands? You can type it in the chat. At that time now, you can maybe unmute yourself and ask directly the question. It's also possible for us. No issue with this.
I actually have a question for you, Benoit. So do you have a minimum amount of tags needed to really starting to qualify your persona?
A volume of tags? It's data, so you need to have a decent sample to make it relevant. Otherwise, it's not really significant in a sense. We have started some brand from zero in China, so really nothing. When we start to have, I would say, after a trade show or two, we tend to have usually, I would say, 200 to 400 people with some information in the CRM. If it's professional aspects, or a bit more like B2B2C kind of approach, that can be enough of information to start to see trends in the data. If we are talking about B2C, we need a volume that is really different before making some assertions. I would say we are talking more in the thousands. So some people talk about millions of data, but honestly, when you start to have a couple of thousands of followers that are properly tagged in your CRM for the B2C, you start to be able to also extract some data and informations that could be relevant for the marketing team in the sense of, okay, we have insights for you. When we look at the data, we can see that we have, I don't know, this type of content, or for example, this type of product seems to be way more interesting for the people, but we have noticed that it's not really your hero product on your e-commerce aspect. So maybe you should try this product as a hero product there. So we can have some trends. So it's not, if you have 10 or 100 people entering, it's usually not enough. But if you go to a bit larger sample, you start to have insights that are interesting. We tend to say to people, if you have 10% of your CRM that is already tagged in terms of quality, you usually have some insights. So that's how we take it. So when we start with a brand, if they already have a CRM, we will study that CRM to understand how it's structured, and from the data we can usually learn some aspect right at the beginning. Any additional questions? We have people in different industry. I don't know if we cover all the different industry. Can you go in the chat just to be sure if we cover? So education, F&B, agro product supply, most of all B2B, I guess, education, fashion, craft brewery. So yeah, more beer in that case. Okay. I think we give a little bit of example there. So, any additional questions, guys? Honestly, it's time for you. So if you are willing to us to clarify some of the points related to CRM in general, tagging, and how to collect information and how to use the information that has been collected, feel free to do it. We still have about 10 minutes in the timing to answer additional questions. I mean, if you have no more questions, I think we can terminate the session here. We have a couple of seconds, but it's good. Okay. So then, thank you so lot, everyone, for being present today. We hope this content was interesting to you, and we will continue to have regular webinars. Roughly every 2 weeks, we are trying to bring you some knowledge and sharing a bit how we work on our side.
And actually, in 2 weeks' time, we have a webinar about higher education. So
on the higher education sector. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So this session is recorded, so I will send you the replay and the deck as well. Okay.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you.